06:46 Hollywood, 1954. A cramped casting office on Sunset Boulevard. Leather chairs worn thin. Cigarette smoke hanging in the air like a curtain. The kind of room where dreams come to die. Charles Bronson sits across from a studio executive. White shirt, borrowed tie, shoes he polished 3 times that morning. He's 33 years old. Looks older. The coal mines do that to a man. 20 years underground leaves marks no amount of Hollywood makeup can hide. The executive barely looks up from his papers. Doesn't offer his name. Doesn't offer coffee. Just looks at Bronson's headshot, then at Bronson, then back at the headshot like he's comparing 2 different people. Then he says it. 5 words that would echo through cinema history. You're too ugly for Hollywood. What happened in the next 20 years didn't just prove that executive wrong. It created an entirely new definition of what a movie star could be. Changed the face of cinema. Literally. But to understand how, we need to go back further. Back to where ugly was forged. Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania. 1931, 10-year-old Charles Buczynski walks into his first coal mine. Not for a school trip. For work. The Buczynski family. Lithuanian immigrants. 15 children. Father works the mines. Doesn't make enough. So the children work too. Charles is number 11. 10 years old. His job. Picking slate from coal. Standing at conveyor belts for 10 hours. Hands black. Lungs filling with dust. The sound of machinery so loud he learns to read lips before he learns to read English properly. The other workers look at young Charles. See a face already hardened by poverty. Slavic features. Prominent cheekbones. Deep-set eyes that have seen things no child should see. A face carved by necessity, not blessed by genetics. Even then, they say he's ugly. Too serious. Too intense. Like he's angry at something they can't see. Charles doesn't care. Ugly means you survive. Pretty means you're weak. In the mines, weak gets you killed. His father dies when Charles is 16. Cave in. They don't even recover the whole body. Just enough to bury. The family gets $75. That's what a miner's life is worth in 1937. Charles keeps working. 5 more years in the mines. 21 years old when he finally escapes. Not through luck. Through war. World War II. December 1941. Charles Buczynski enlists in the Army Air Force. Not because he's patriotic. Because anything is better than the mines. Even war. They send him to the Pacific. B-29 gunner. Flies 25 missions. Sees men die. Watches planes fall from the sky like burning birds. Learns that death doesn't care what you look like. Doesn't care if you're pretty or ugly. Just comes when it comes. But he also learns something else. In war, the pretty boys die first. The ones who think they're invincible because they have good hair and straight teeth. The ones who underestimate danger. The ugly ones, the ones who look like Charles, they survive. Because they never assume the world owes them anything. They stay alert. Stay ready. Stay alive. Charles comes back from war in 1945. 24 years old. Coal dust replaced by gunpowder residue. But the same hard face. The same intense eyes. The same presence that makes people uncomfortable. He tries the mines again. Lasts 3 days. Can't do it. Not after seeing the sky from 30,000 feet. Can't go back underground. So he drifts. Odd jobs. Construction. Loading trucks. Anything that keeps him above ground. Anything that pays enough to eat. Then, by accident, he takes an acting class. GI Bill pays for it. He doesn't think he'll be good at it. Just needs something to do. Somewhere warm to sit. But the teacher sees something. Not talent exactly. Something else. Presence. The way Charles occupies space. The way his silence speaks louder than other students' monologues. The teacher says, "You should try Hollywood." Charles laughs. Says, "Look at me." The teacher says, "I am looking. That's why I'm telling you." Los Angeles, 1950. Charles Buczynski arrives with $100 and one suitcase. Rents a room in a boarding house that smells like cabbage and broken promises. He changes his name. Buczynski sounds too foreign. Too communist. This is 1950. McCarthy era. Russian names don't work. He becomes Charles Bronson. Sounds American. Sounds tough. Sounds like someone who could be in movies. He's wrong. Casting call after casting call. Audition after audition. Same result. Too ugly. Not leading man material. Maybe character work. Background. Thugs. Criminals. One casting director actually says, "Your face looks like it lost a fight with a cement mixer." Bronson doesn't argue. Just nods. Leaves. Goes to the next audition. He gets small parts. Very small. Uncredited. Man in crowd. Thug number 3. Prisoner. Parts that require him to look menacing and not speak. Perfect. For 4 years, this is his life. Bit parts. Day labor between auditions. Living on canned soup and pride. His friends from acting class, the pretty ones, they get leads. Romantic comedies. Adventure films. They smile for the camera. Bronson just glares. Back to that casting office. That executive. Those 5 words. "You're too ugly for Hollywood." Bronson sits there. Doesn't react. Doesn't argue. Just looks at the executive. That coal mine stare. That gunner stare. The stare that has seen men die and machines crush bodies. The executive shifts uncomfortably. Looks away first. Bronson stands. Says only this. "We'll see." Walks out. That same year, something changes. Not in Bronson. In Hollywood. Television explodes. Westerns everywhere. Gunsmoke. Have gun will travel. Wagon train. They need tough guys. Real tough guys. Not pretty boys pretending to be tough. Actual men who look like they've lived hard lives. Suddenly, Bronson's face isn't a liability. It's an asset. He books a small part. Then another. Then a recurring role. His face, the face they called ugly, becomes recognizable. Becomes trusted. People see him and think, this man has survived something. The Magnificent Seven. Director John Sturges is casting. Needs 7 men to defend a Mexican village. He already has Yul Brynner. Steve McQueen. Now he needs 5 more. Bronson auditions for Bernardo O'Reilly. The character is Irish-Mexican. Skilled with knives. Deadly but honorable. Sturges watches Bronson's audition. Doesn't say anything. Just nods. "You're in." No discussion about looks. No mention of leading man qualities. Just, "You're right for this." The movie films in Mexico. Bronson works alongside McQueen. McQueen is already a star. Cool. Charismatic. Everything Bronson isn't. But something happens during filming. In every scene they share, Bronson holds his own. Not through charisma. Through presence. Through stillness. There's a scene where Bronson's character plays with village children. Shows them knife tricks. His face softens. For one moment, you see past the hardness. See the man who survived the mines. Survived the war. Survived rejection. The scene is 2 minutes long. It changes everything. When The Magnificent Seven releases, critics notice Bronson. Not the way they notice McQueen or Brenner. Different. One review says, Bronson brings an authenticity the others can't match. He doesn't act tough. He is tough. Another, that face. It tells a story before he speaks a word. Suddenly, ugly becomes interesting. Becomes authentic. Becomes real. Hollywood starts calling. Not for romantic leads. For something else. Anti-heroes. Men with pasts. Men whose faces show their damage. Bronson works constantly through the 1960s. The Great Escape. The Dirty Dozen. Once Upon a Time in the West. In Europe, particularly France and Italy, he becomes massive. Bigger than in America. The French call him Le Monstre Sacré, the sacred monster. They love that face. That presence. But in America, he's still a supporting player. Still the tough guy in someone else's movie. Until 1974. Paramount Pictures. 1973, they're developing Death Wish. Based on a controversial novel. Architect's family is murdered. He becomes a vigilante. Hunts criminals in New York City. They want a star. Someone recognizable. Someone who can carry a film. They offer it to everyone. Jack Lemmon. Robert Mitchum. Clint Eastwood. Henry Fonda. Everyone passes. Too dark. Too violent. Too risky. The studio panics. They've already invested money. Need to make the film. Someone suggests Bronson. He's 52 years old. Not a leading man. But he has that face. That presence. The studio executives hesitate. Same executives who rejected him 20 years earlier. Same conversation. Is he leading man material? But now, the answer changes. Does it matter? Look at his face. You believe he's suffered. You believe he wants revenge. They offer Bronson the role. Biggest role of his career. Lead. His name above the title. Bronson reads the script. Sees Paul Kersey. Architect. Normal man. Destroyed by violence. Becomes something else. He understands this character. The transformation. From victim to hunter. From powerless to powerful. He says yes. Filming in New York. Director Michael Winner wants authenticity. Real streets. Real locations. They film in actual high-crime areas. The South Bronx. Hell's Kitchen. Places where film crews don't usually go. Something happens during production. Real gang members show up. Watch filming. Some approach Bronson between takes. They don't threaten. Don't cause trouble. Just watch. Respectful. One gang leader says to Bronson, "You one of us, man. You got that look. Like you seen some shit." Bronson doesn't correct him. Just nods. Death Wish releases August 1974. Critics hate it. Call it fascist. Call it dangerous. Say it glorifies vigilante violence. Audiences love it. It becomes the #1 film in America. Makes $22 million. Massive for 1974. More importantly, it makes Charles Bronson a household name. At 52. An age when most actors are winding down. Suddenly, he's the biggest action star in the world. Not in America alone. Globally. Studios offer him anything. $1 million per film. Unheard of money. The face they called too ugly is now worth $1 million. 1975 to 1985. Bronson's golden decade. He makes films back to back. Breakout. Hard Times. From Noon Till 3. The White Buffalo. Telephone. For Death Wish sequels. Each more successful than the last. He becomes the highest paid actor in Hollywood. Commands complete creative control. Chooses directors. Approves scripts. His name above the title. Always. But here's what's interesting. Bronson never changes. Never tries to become conventionally handsome. Never hides his age. Never pretends to be something he's not. His characters are always the same archetype. Working class. Tough. Dangerous when provoked. Men with rough pasts. Men whose faces tell stories. In interviews, reporters ask, "Did you ever think you'd be a star?" Bronson, "No. Why not? Look at me. I'm not what stars look like. But you became one anyway. I became what audiences wanted. That's different." He's right. Bronson didn't become a star despite his looks. He became a star because of them. In the 1970s, America changes. Vietnam. Watergate. Economic crisis. People lose faith in institutions. In heroes. In pretty solutions to ugly problems. They want authenticity. They want men who look like they've suffered. Like they understand that the world is harsh. They want Charles Bronson. His face, the face rejected in 1954, becomes the face of an era. The face that launched 1,000 tough guy careers. The face that proved you don't need to be pretty to be powerful. 1990s, Bronson slows down. Makes fewer films. Spends time with family. Young actors ask him for advice. How did you make it? Bronson shrugs. Says, I didn't quit. They press. Want more. Want the secret. Bronson thinks. Then says, they told me I was too ugly. I believed them. But I didn't let that stop me. I just kept showing up. Kept working. Eventually, the world changed. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe the world just caught up. One young actor says, but weren't you angry? Didn't rejection hurt? Bronson, every day. But anger is fuel. You can let it destroy you. Or you can use it. I used it. How? Every role I took, even the small ones, I played like it mattered. Like it was the only role I'd ever get. Because maybe it was. When you think that way, you don't waste opportunities. You don't take anything for granted. What about confidence? How did you stay confident when everyone said no? Bronson laughs. Rare sound. Says, I was never confident. Confidence is for people who don't know what real struggle is. I had certainty. Different thing. What's the difference? Confidence is thinking you'll succeed. Certainty is knowing you'll survive. I survived coal mines. Survived war. Survived poverty. Hollywood rejection. That was nothing. They could tell me I'm ugly every day for 20 years. Didn't matter. I'd still be alive tomorrow. Still be working. That's certainty. The young actor processes this. Then asks, do you have any regrets? Bronson thinks. Long pause. Then, I regret every year I believed them instead of myself. Every audition I walked into thinking I wasn't enough. Every time I apologized for my face. What changed? I stopped apologizing. Stopped trying to be what they wanted. Started being what I was. Turns out, that's what they wanted all along. They just didn't know it yet. Charles Bronson died in 2003. Age 81. Pneumonia. Quiet death for a loud career. His obituaries all mention the same thing. That face. The face that launched 1,000 tough guy careers. The face that changed what leading men could look like. But here's what they miss. The real story isn't about looks. It's about persistence. Bronson heard no for 20 years. 20 years of too ugly. Not leading man material. Maybe background work. Most people quit after 20 rejections. Bronson survived 20 years of rejection. And he didn't just survive. He used it. Every no became fuel. Every "you're too ugly" became proof that the industry didn't understand what audiences wanted. When his moment came, he was ready. Not because he got lucky. Because he'd been preparing for 20 years. Every small role. Every background part. Every moment of being underestimated. All preparation. So here's the real lesson from Charles Bronson's life. They'll tell you you're not enough. Too ugly. Too old. Too poor. Too damaged. Too late. Don't argue. Don't defend. Don't try to prove them wrong in that moment. Just keep working. Keep showing up. Keep being authentically yourself. Because the world changes. Tastes change. What's ugly today becomes authentic tomorrow. What's rejected today becomes essential tomorrow. Your job isn't to change yourself to fit their vision. Your job is to be so undeniably yourself that eventually, their vision changes to fit you. Charles Bronson did exactly that. The face they said was too ugly for Hollywood became the face that defined Hollywood for an entire generation. Not despite the rejection. Because of it. The coal mines taught him to survive. The war taught him to endure. Hollywood taught him to persist. And persistence, in the end, beats pretty every single time.